back to another video. Today's video is going to be all about how and why I go to Disney for day trips. So this video is really for people that live less than a 3-hour flight away from either one of the Disney parks, whether that's Anaheim or Orlando. Just because if you have to travel more than 3 hours, I don't think it would actually be worth it, because there would probably be issues with flight timing, the prices would probably be too expensive, you'd probably be exhausted from traveling, and also I don't think you would get as much out of your park day if you're spending majority of your day traveling. So yeah, that is like kind of tip number one. So a personal rule of thumb for me is I like to get my flights for under $100 if that's possible, or if I'm just like really dying to go to Disney, then I won't spend any more than like a regular park day ticket, which is around like $150. Just because I don't think it's really worth much more than that to go for just a day, because the whole point of going is to, at the end of the day, go, but also to save money. So if you're spending like all this money to get there and then like only be there for about like 10 hours or so, I don't think it's worth it. And if you want to know what it's like to actually do a day trip, my last video was a day trip to Disney, so I will go ahead and link that above. And I've also done this once before back in September of last year when I went to resort hop for a day. So I do have a playlist on my channel for day trip stuff, so if you're interested in any of those videos, you can go ahead and check those out. So I first want to get into why I do day trips to Disney. I feel like if you're a Disney adult, it really doesn't need that much explaining. Like if you want to go, then just go. But I personally like to go because number one, it's fun, but number two, you're gonna save a lot of money just by going for a day trip. It is significantly cheaper to just catch a flight that's already gonna be round trip, so why not do it in, one day, compared to like staying at a Disney resort, which is gonna be a minimum of like $200 a night. So it's already like significantly cheaper to do it that way, but also it's really good for content creators because you can just pack a bunch of outfits into a backpack and go and get, the photos, the reels, whatever it is that you want to get. And then your content is set for a little while, so there's that as a bonus as well. You also don't have to worry about packing like a huge suitcase and then waiting for your baggage at the airport. Like you can just pack your little backpack, get on your plane, get off the plane, get your Uber, and then like get right to the park. Like it's much more simpler to travel when you don't have a bunch of things with you. So I know I've mentioned that it is cheaper to do this, so I just want to give you like rough numbers as to what I usually spend when I go to Florida for some day trips. So I'll usually spend anywhere between like $300 to $500, which I know is not necessarily like cheap, but it is compared to like a week-long vacation where you could be spending thousands of dollars at Disney World. So like I said, my flights are usually around $100. I try to get them cheaper if I can. I'll go to the airport to get them cheaper. And then, you're really just paying for your Uber from the airport and then your park ticket. And then obviously any additional things that you pay for in the park, like your food, Genie Plus, like all that kind of stuff, which is already kind of factored into a Disney trip. So I don't really count that when I think about that $300. That's why I rounded up from like $300 to $500, because normally I'll buy a ton of souvenirs that like puts me over that budget already. But yeah, if you're trying to do this on a budget, you could definitely do this. If you live within 3 hours, you could probably do this for around $300. I think another huge reason why it's a good idea to do day trips to Disney if you can is because it is a lot on your body to do multiple park days. I know for me it's a lot on my body to just do one long park day, especially because I'm not really getting breaks in this one day, which is totally fine. Like if you're doing it just for one day and you're spending all this money to get this flight to go there and plan all this out, like you don't really need to take breaks because you're only there for like 10 hours anyway, so you can kind of just power through. And then it is important to take the following day off so that way you can recover. The only thing I will say is that the concept of a day trip is not really great for someone who's going for the first time to Disney World or Disneyland, especially because it's not going to feel as magical because you're not staying on property or you're not experiencing multiple parks or whatever the situation is. I'm mostly speaking for Disney adults, anyone who just loves Disney that just wants to go. Maybe you have a trip planned but like towards the end of the year and you've just been really wanting to go experience this festival or this new ride, whatever it is. If you just want to go, like you can go for a day trip. But yeah, I just wouldn't recommend to do this if it's your first time to Disney World because you won't get that full kind of magical experience. So let's get into how I plan my day trips to Disney. So the very first thing that I will do is decide on the reason that I want to go. So, my very first time, my reasoning was to simply resort hop just to get content. So I didn't really need to go for any specific dates because there's nothing going on specifically at any of the resorts that I was, you know, trying to get my content for. But on my most recent trip last week, I wanted to go specifically for Festival of the Arts. So I knew that I had anywhere between, I think it's like January 13th to like February 20th. So I had all those dates to work with to potentially pick my flights. So if you're going, for example, for like a ride opening, like Tron, if you're trying to go like that first weekend in April, I wouldn't recommend because it's gonna be very, very busy. You could also just be going for fun. So just like pick your reasoning, that way it kind of helps you solidify your dates. So it's also really important to pick the reason that you wanna go because you need to know what parks you're going to, so that way you can make your park reservations and make sure that there's actually availability for you to actually go on the date that you want to go. And a little kind of like hack, I guess, for saving money, if that's kind of another reason that you're looking to go for a day trip, is to not do the park hopper option. I think it's only like an additional $40 or so. Like it may not be anything crazy worth saving. Like if you really want to park hop, just go ahead and do it. But for me, I just specifically wanted to go to Festival of the Arts, and you know, the 10 hours that I had was not going to be enough to park hop, especially because park hopping can take, you know, upwards of an hour. So I just didn't think that was worth it. I probably won't ever do that if I'm going for a day trip, unless the person I'm with like really wants to park hop or whatever. But yeah, for the most part, I would pick one park, stay there for the day, that way you can get the most out of your day and just get as many things done as you possibly can because you're only there for such a short period of time. So now that we've picked the reason why we're going to Disney and the park that we're going to, it is now time to go ahead and pick your dates. So I would base your dates on, obviously, if it's something specific for the reason that you're going, go ahead and pick those dates. But if you do have some flexibility, like if you're going for a festival and you have like anywhere in that season to choose, you know, a certain time, definitely choose to fly during the week. I personally find that Tuesdays are the cheapest days to fly and also the cheapest days to get your tickets. So I will drive to the airport and get my tickets on a Tuesday and then like fly out the next Tuesday because I'm a very like last minute planner like that. But I would definitely not recommend flying on the weekends if you can avoid it. I know a lot of people have, you know, their 9 to 5s, like it's not an option to go during the week. So if you have to go on a weekend, like you can do what you have to do to make it work. But I just would try to avoid that if you can, and then also try to avoid holidays. I know a lot of people are off for like President's Day that's coming up. But I would try to personally avoid those flights because I think that they will be more expensive. I also think, especially if you're going for like an Epcot festival, I would pick dates that are like in the middle of the festival. I wouldn't go necessarily towards the beginning because obviously the crowds are going to be worse in the parks. And I also think that during the ends of festivals, the crowds will be a little bit heavier too. So if you can pick somewhere in the middle, just so you can try to avoid some of the park crowd as well. So if you are flexible with your dates, or even if you're not, if you know what date specifically you want to go, I would use the website Skyscanner. So the very first thing that you're going to want to do when it comes to looking at flights on Skyscanner is to make sure that you're using private mode on your browser, because if you use like your regular browsing mode, it can track the flights that you're looking at and can make them more expensive. If you don't book right away and you come back, the flights will be more expensive because it knows that you're trying to track them. So we're going to go ahead and click on the very first link for Skyscanner. So we'll look at March just because that's like the next upcoming month, and then there's also Flower and Garden Festival, which starts on March 1st. So let's say that we were looking to go for Flower and Garden. So really any of these dates are going to work. Obviously go for the ones in the green because they're the cheapest, and then orange is going to be your moderately priced flights, and then in red, that's going to be your most expensive flights. We don't really want to go towards the very beginning of the festival because, like I said, it's going to be much busier. And then we also don't really want to go towards the very end of March because of spring break. So let's say that we're gonna go for March 14th because I feel like that's a little bit before spring break and it's like 2 weeks after the festival starts. So maybe it would be calmed down a little bit. I'm going to click on the 14th. We're going to return on the 14th. I'm going to hit select, and then we're going to do just regular economy class. And then it's going to go ahead and take a few seconds to go through every single flight that is going to fly out of Philly to Orlando for that day. So as you can see along the top, it says your best, cheapest, and fastest flights. So we're going to go for the specific times that we want to arrive in Orlando and then the times that we want to return home. So we're going to filter this to be an outbound flight anytime before, I would say 6:30, and then we want to return home anytime after, I'd say anytime after 10, I would say, just so we're getting the most out of our park day. Then we're gonna go ahead and hit done, and then click on cheapest. So then, as you can see, the cheapest possible flight is going to be from Frontier, which would be 5:30 to 8:19, and then 10:07 to 12:32, which is very similar to the flights that I took last week, which is a very good deal in my opinion because that is a very cheap price. So I would go ahead and hit select, and then it shows you all the websites where you can book your tickets. So trip.com, I'm pretty sure, is a notable website to use. There's also Expedia, and then you could also go on Frontier's website as well, which I don't think it's showing on here. I'm not sure why, but you could probably go on Frontier's website as well. And then I also know that Frontier is running like a package this year. You get like unlimited flights for a year. So if you plan on doing day trips, or you're just a big traveler in general, I think that getting that Frontier package would be a good idea. So now that we've picked our park, our date, and our flight, I'm now going to tell you about like the essentials that I think are necessary for the plane and for your park day. So for someone like Michaela, who came with me, all she really needed was a small backpack just to carry, like a light jacket, because we were flying from the cold and then flying back into the cold, so she wanted to have a light jacket to have with her. And then, a little bit of room for souvenirs, because that's always important. So for someone like me, I carry a bigger backpack, so I think that this is essential if you are a creator and you're going to the park specifically to get content and you want to change multiple outfits, or even if you just know that you're gonna buy like a bigger souvenir that you need to have room for. Like, this is the only bag that you get, so make sure that you bring one that is the biggest possible that you can. So I just have this backpack from Base, which is not sponsored, but I really wish it was. I freaking love this company and I love this bag specifically. But anyway, this is just called the backpack. It's on their website. I will have it linked down below. So you have like your front pocket, which is just like a typical front pocket. But the most special part about this bag is that the inside is like literally a mini suitcase. When I resort hopped back in September, I brought 10 outfits with me and they all fit in here. And then on the other side of the opening, there's just like a clear spot for like any cosmetics or anything that you think might leak would be a good pocket for that. And then up here you just have your netted pocket, which is good for just anything else small that you want to pack with you. And then the back pocket is where I keep my ears. So this is super efficient for me and I absolutely love this bag, and it also just evenly distributes the weight on your back. So like for someone like me that's carrying a lot of things, that can definitely add on pounds and make it a little bit harder to get through the park day. I absolutely love this bag. I did still end up getting a locker, which was a great decision. I packed a fanny pack in here and I did all of my content in the morning, and then around noon or like 1 o'clock I went and got a locker and put this in there, and then just had the fanny pack with me, and it was a great idea. I'll probably always continue to do that. But yeah, this is a great bag to have for just all travel purposes, but especially for day trips. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend getting this bag. And then another essential is definitely to get plane Wi-Fi, which for me was $10 with Spirit for like the high speed Wi-Fi. There was also another one for like $8. So I just spent $2 more to get like the higher level Wi-Fi. So you're definitely gonna want to get Genie Plus if rides is part of your day, just because like you don't have the time to really waste to stand in lines because your day is already so like go go go. So I would definitely recommend getting the plane Wi-Fi so that way you can get Genie Plus on the plane, because chances are at 7 a.m. you're going to be on the plane. So I would go ahead and pay for the Wi-Fi ahead of time and then get your Genie Plus on the plane. If you're going to a festival or whatever it is and you're just there to try foods or see a certain show or whatever it is, then don't worry about getting Genie Plus, but I can imagine that we would all need it for a park day. So make sure that you get your plane Wi-Fi ahead of time and then you get that working like as soon as you're up in the sky, so that way you know that you're going to be all set and ready for 7 a.m. when Genie Plus is available. And then the very last thing on my list of how I go to Disney for a day trip is that when you land in Orlando, the very first thing that you should do is download Lyft and Uber if you don't already have them. Or if you do, then just open both of those apps and then see which rideshare is going to be cheaper. For us, we found that Lyft was cheaper both times, so I would go ahead and go on Lyft and then get your ride booked as soon as you exit out of baggage claim, just because I know for me, I'm not really ever sure where I'm at baggage claim. So I'd rather just be in the exact pickup spot and then send my location to the driver so they can get right there and get you. And I didn't have any issues with this. On this most recent trip, the driver was there within like 3 minutes and we were at the park at 9 a.m. for opening, and it all worked out really, really well for us. I do have just like 2 additional little tips for you, and that is to take off the day before and after. Well, you're definitely gonna need the day after off if you get sore like I do, but I would definitely take off the day before your trip if you can as well, just so that way you can get a good night's rest. I know for me, I took ZzzQuil and went to sleep around like 6 or 7 p.m. just because it's so out of the norm for me to go to sleep that early. I knew I needed some sort of sleep aid, but I slept from 7 to 2. I woke up at 2 and then started getting ready. So it's gonna be a long day, so make sure that you're well rested before, and also try to be as hydrated as you can before. I know I sound like a mom saying that, but it really is true. It can make or break your Disney day. And then, like I said, having the day off afterwards. So if you can kind of plan this to be like you don't have to be like completely off, but as long as like your workload or like your day is like a lighter day, just do yourself that favor and give yourself those 2 days off before and after. And then the last tip that I have is to pack emergency essentials, just in case your flight gets delayed or canceled, because we all know how the airports have been and how unexpectedly flights have been getting canceled. So I would just have like a little emergency pack with you just in case, you know, like a toothbrush, contact solution, body wash, whatever it is that you feel you would absolutely need if for whatever reason you absolutely had to spend a night at, you know, the airport or in a hotel nearby, like whatever the case is. Just have that, so that way that situation would be a little bit less stressful for you. I doubt it would happen, but you really never know. And yeah, I hope this video was organized enough. I hope that you were able to get some tips on how to do a day trip to Disney. And yeah, that is all that I have for my tips on how I do my day trips, why I go for day trips, you know, all that good stuff. So let me know in the comments if there's anything that you think I missed that is an essential tip for you if you do day trips, or even if you just found this video helpful. Be sure to go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss when I post, which is every Friday, and I will see you real soon. Bye.